Does life seem hard? Do you struggle to get stuff done, to stay motivated? Are you often pursuing pleasure-seeking activities, them fast, easy dopamine hits? Do you struggle with mood regulation and emotional stability? Maybe even erectile dysfunction. You might well be suffering from dopamine dysregulation. Dopamine is all the rage nowadays. Everyone's talking about dopamine. But how are we going to fix this dopamine dysregulation? We ain't going to do a dopamine detox. We ain't going to do some dopamine fasting. We're not going to drink an herbal tea or go to a silent retreat meditation. Nah, mate. We're going to use drugs because we all know that drugs are the solution for all of life's problems. 9-methyl-beta-carboline might be the answer, or as I like to call it, 9-MBC. 9-MBC is primarily studied in the fight against Parkinson's disease, which is a disease of dopamine dysregulation. 9-MBC increases the stimulation and expression of tyrosine hydroxylase, the enzyme responsible for converting tyrosine ultimately to dopamine. It is a neurological anti-inflammatory, and it stimulates dopaminergic neurons. 9-MBC also stimulates the expression of neurotrophic factors, which are responsible for the growth of neurons. So, it is a new research chemical on the scene that biohackers are using to supposedly have long-lasting effects on regulating their dopaminergic system. And apparently, it can be particularly useful for people that have dopaminergic dysregulation. So, let's talk about my experience. My mood tends to peak and trough. I tend to get a bit manic, quite hyper, very dopamine driven for a day, maybe two. And then I have a good few days of hitting that trough, feeling very unmotivated, lethargic, basically unable to tackle life. Life feels hard. And ultimately, I have been suffering from ADHD type symptoms. So things weren't great, and I thought I would improve them by doing a bit of biohacking. I added in the nootropic bromantane, my experience of which I talked about in my previous video. This had some really positive effects to start off with, and then things went south. I discontinued bromantane and things were not improving. My libido was dead. My erections were not happening. I was officially unable to complete the act of sex. I've heard about 9-MBC from a fair few people on YouTube, and the final decision to use this compound came when I had a consultation with Vigorous Steve. Can I get a front double bicep for you? And he recommended that I do the dopamine detox. He recommended that I take away all these dopaminergic stimuli from my life, and he suggested that I investigate 9-MBC. So, my first experience with 9-MBC. I took it, and my mood did not improve. I was being cautious, so I had half of the capsule in the morning, and I wasn't really feeling anything of it. I wasn't feeling particularly good. Nothing to report there. So, I took Ryan Russo's advice, and I consumed the other half of the capsule sublingually. This is a terrible idea. Basically, 9-MBC is a caustic compound which seems to dissolve your taste buds. I'm aware that a lot of the taste comes from the smell of the food. However, a significant amount of the taste does come from your tongue. Straight after I consumed my sublingual 9-MBC, I decided to eat a delicious pulled pork dinner. And when I took the first bite, it tasted of nothing. Basically, I ate the pulled pork sandwich, and instead of tasting sweet and delicious, it tasted wet. It tasted flavorless and wet. I had corroded my taste buds quite significantly. So, for anybody who's interested in experimenting with this research chemical, I suggest that you take it orally because I have experienced benefits from taking it orally. You don't need to put yourself through the torture of that increased bioavailability that you get from sublingual administration. So the effects that I got from 9-MBC on the first day were not impressive. I lost my sense of taste. I had this feeling of being extremely cold. My hands were cold, my core felt cold, and I struggled to warm up. My mood did not improve, and I just felt kind of down, depressed, and weird for the first couple of days of taking it. Now, the real improvements came at day 3. On day 3, I doubled the dose. I went from the lower recommended dose of 15 milligrams to the higher recommended dose of 30 milligrams per day. And this is where both the effects and the side effects really started to show. Upon increasing the dose from 15 to 30 milligrams, I started to experience mood stability, emotional regulation. I also had more positive emotions like joy and a sense of being driven and more energy. Now, this is especially the case when compared to my previous state that resulted from the negative reaction to bromantane. So coming from that place, this feels awesome. I have noticed that my sleep is a little impaired. Now, for this, I'm using melatonin and 5-HTP. I am waking up in the middle of the night and I am feeling quite wired and alert. And to sort this out, I'm taking the 5-HTP mid-sleep. And this works pretty well for me. I'm still waking up in the morning. I'm not feeling groggy from taking the 5-HTP. And I'm waking up feeling generally quite alert and ready to smash the day. So, some impaired sleep might go hand in hand with waking up with more drive, vigor, and energy. One major effect that I am experiencing from 9-MBC is that effort feels easy. Like before, I was struggling to do the mundane tasks of day-to-day life. Like I got home today and I just saw a mess that needed tidying and I just got on it and I did it. I wasn't thinking, oh, this is effort, this is hard, I don't want to do this, what else can I do? I just got on and I did it. I did it like a fucking machine. One negative effect, which I am noticing, is that I can feel my heart beating more. Now, in the period of anhedonia that was induced by the bromantane exposure, one of the benefits was that my tachycardia, my irregular heartbeat, all of that stuff had died down and I was feeling quite healthy cardiovascularly. Now, since taking the 9-MBC, I have felt a slight increase in the heaviness of my heartbeat, which was one of the symptoms I had been suffering for in the year or two beforehand. So a return of that symptom, but a loss of other ones. One thing that I'm very happy to say is that my libido is back. Yeah, baby. Now I am able to get stimulated by thinking erotic thoughts. They now have an effect on my body. I'm able to get excited by exciting stuff. Sexually, that is. Yeah, and it seems my libido is back, and we will see how this progresses as the experiment continues. And the most important change seems to be that I'm happy inside. I feel a lot more confident, and I've noticed that even my posture's improved. My shoulders are back more, my chin's held high, and I got a little swagger in my step. So, in summary, 9-MBC is a research chemical. I can't emphasize this strongly enough. It hasn't gone through stage 3 clinical human trials and all that jazz. If you're going to experiment with this, please do a lot of research and do so at your own risk. This is a slightly sketchy compound. If you are choosing to experiment with it, I recommend taking between 15 and 30 milligrams per day, and the duration of this should be at least 20 days, maybe 30 days, if you are looking for those permanent changes in your dopaminergic system, if you are looking to fix your dopamine dysregulation. I have absolutely no idea if this is going to have any positive, permanent, long-lasting effects that are going to help me once I discontinue this drug. I also have no idea whether I am going to suffer from some terrible side effects that are going to force me to stop this experiment early. So, for anybody interested, stay tuned to the Fake Natty channel, yo! And for anybody out there who's seeking coaching and advice for powerlifting, strength training, human optimization, please get in touch with the Fake Natty on the link down below. Until next time, I'll catch you later. Peace!